Hello grade 6! A teacher friend requested me to make a tutorial video lesson for the grade 6 pupils also. So, while ang iban mahamuok ng katulugon sa pag-ili-ilis ang sirom-sirom kung mabatian ninyo sa akon nga background, allow me to stay up late tonight to help you for your lesson for the first week of the first quarter. So, before we will start with the lesson for the grade 6, I want you first to look at the challenge I posted here on the whiteboard, and I want you to give it a try. This is a rectangular figure, and inside the rectangular figure is a triangle CAT. Now, this square here, assuming that this is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, remember that this figure is not drawn to scale. So the challenge is you have to answer if what part of the area of rectangle is covered by the triangle CAT. I want you to pause this video and give it a try. Answer the challenge, and later I will show you the solution for this challenge. Good luck. This time, let's try to give the solution for this problem. If this square here is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, it's just easy to get the area of the entire rectangle. All you have to do is just to count the number of squares that made up the triangle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Because that's 5 times 4 is equal to 20. So the total area of this rectangular figure is 20 square centimeters. That's it. This time, let us have to get the portion of the area of this rectangle covered by triangle CAT. Now, of course, in order for us to know what's the area of this triangle, all we have to do is to count also the squares covered by this triangle. However, some of the figures are not complete squares. So, this problem could also be solved using the thinking outside the box heuristic. And how to do that one? Instead of counting the squares inside the rectangle, why not count the squares not covered by the triangle and subtract it from the area covered by the rectangle? Okay? So this time, if you notice this one, this form a square, and of course in this square half of it is covered by the triangle and the other half of it is not covered by the triangle. Of course, if this is 9 square centimeters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so you will divide it by 2, therefore that's 4.5 or 4 and 1/2 is not covered by the triangle. Now let's try to look at the figure here. The figure here actually is a rectangle, and of course this rectangle, if you notice, this portion is half of the rectangle, which is outside the triangle. So if this rectangle here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 square centimeters, you will divide it by 2 because half is not covered or not inside the triangle. So this is 5 divided by 2, that's 2.5 or 2 and 1/2 square centimeters is the shaded figure here, which is outside the triangle. Of course, the last figure here, if you notice, this is also a rectangle. But if you will take this out, that portion is not inside the triangle. So if this region is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 square centimeters, half of it is this portion. So that's 4 square centimeters. So if you will get the total of the region not covered by the triangle, and you will subtract it here from the 20, which is the area of the rectangle, that would be the area of the entire triangle. So 4 plus 4 plus 2, that's 10, plus 1 half and 1 half, or 0.5 and 0.5, that's 11. 11. Okay, I think it's not working. I don't have already the budget for my whiteboard mark. Yes, I do have a reserve one. So that's 11. So therefore, the shaded portion is not covered by the triangle. If the entire figure is 20 square centimeters and 11 square centimeters is the shaded region, therefore inside the triangle you will just subtract 11, so that is 9 square centimeters. But the question is, what part of the area of the rectangle is covered by triangle CAT? Triangle CAT is 9 square centimeters out of 20 square centimeters. Therefore, the correct answer is 9 over 20. Okay, once again, I would like to emphasize this one, that 20 square centimeters is the area of the rectangle, while 11 square centimeters is the area of the shaded figure. So therefore, the triangle, which is the unshaded, is 9 square centimeters. So 9 square centimeters over 20 square centimeters, 9/20th is the portion which is covered by the triangle. And that's the answer for our challenge. Did you get it correctly? Then congratulations. Alright, so I think we are now all set and ready for the lessons for the first quarter of grade 6. Of course, we will be only covering the week 1 competencies for the grade 6. The week 1 competencies for the grade 6 allow me to check my código. Of course, that is add and subtract simple fraction and mixed number with or without regrouping, and also solves routine and non-routine problems involving addition and subtraction of fraction using appropriate problem-solving strategies and tools. So, therefore, the grade 6 will be covering about fraction, addition and subtraction of fraction. Before we will jump to the very meat of our discussion for today, of course, I want you first to recall what are the different kinds of fractions. We do have 3 very popular kinds of fraction. The first one is proper fraction. The second one is improper fraction. And the next one is mixed number, or sometimes it is also called as mixed fraction. When we say proper fraction, sometimes they call it a simple fraction because these are fractions less than 1. So allow me to give you the examples of different kinds of fractions. Here are the 3 kinds of fractions. The first one is the proper fraction, the next one is improper fraction, and another one is mixed number. When we say proper fractions, of course, these are the fractions whose numerator is greater than the denominator. So it simply means that out of the total number of parts the whole was divided, for example 5, it is just proper to just take a portion of it but not the total or all the parts. So for example, if you have 2/5, that is what we call a proper fraction. The numerator is less than or smaller than the denominator 5. Okay. Another example is 1/4. As long as the numerator is smaller or less than the denominator, that is a proper fraction. However, when we say improper fractions, these are fractions which is greater than or equal to 1. For example, 7/4. So therefore, the whole is divided into 4 equal parts, but you are taking more than the total parts the whole was divided. So if the whole was divided into 4 equal parts, you will take 7 parts out of 4. So you need extra more in order to complete that 7/4. 7/4, I mean. So that's what they call improper fraction. There are also fractions or improper fractions. Example of improper fraction also is a fraction which is equal to 1. How will we know that a fraction is equal to 1? Of course, if the numerator and the denominator are the same. For example, if we have 5/5, that is equal to 1, and that is a kind of improper fraction also. Now, I just want to make it clear that the improper fraction could be expressed to mixed number, and at the same time mixed number could be expressed back to improper fraction. So we could do the vice versa of this. So for example, 7/4, that means 7 out of 4. So the meaning of fraction is division. So all you have to do is just divide 7 by 4 in order to express it to mixed number. So how many 4s are there in 7? Of course, that is equal to 1. Now 1 times 4 is 4, subtract, that is equal to 3. So therefore, that's 1 and 3/4. So 1 and 3/4. That's the mixed form of this improper fraction. Okay? And now, allow me to give to you an example of mixed number changed to improper fraction. By the way, it is called as mixed number because that's already a combination of whole number and fraction. So, for example, if you have 1 and 3/4, how would you change that back to improper fraction? Of course, all you have to do is the denominator or the number of parts will be multiplied by the whole number 1. Then you will add the answer 2, 3. So 4 times 1 is equal to 4 plus 3, that is equal to 7. That's 7. Then copy the denominator 4. Let me give another example. So this is a mixed number because you do have a combination of a whole number and a fraction. So to change that to improper fraction, you just multiply 5 times 3, which is equal to 15 plus 2, that will give you 17. Then just copy 5 as your denominator. These two fractions are equal. These two are also equal. This time, let us do your first activity. All you have to do is add the following simple fractions. But before that, I would like to remind you all that in adding fractions or subtracting fractions, we are just only following 2 steps. To make it easier for you to remember, we will just follow 2 steps. The first step is copy the common denominator, and the next step is add the numerator. Of course, you will be surprised while I condense the steps into 2 only. I will tell you why later. For now, just try this first activity of yours. So pause this video and answer number 1 to number 4. Are you done? So let us now answer your activity. Of course, a while ago, I told you that there are only 2 steps in adding or subtracting fractions. Okay, the first step is copy the common denominator. Question number 1. Do we have the same or common denominator? That's correct. Yes, of course. 8 and 8 are the same, so just copy 8. The next step is add the numerators. The numerators we have here is 3 and 2. So if we will add 3 and 2, the answer is 5. Okay? Now, let's try number 2. Copy the common denominator. Do we have common denominator? 12 and 12 here? Yes, they are common. So just copy 12. Of course, 5 plus 3, add the numerators. So the answer is 8. Now, the question is this fraction in the simplest form? Or may ara pa bala nga number nga pwede makadivide sa 8 kag sa 4 aside sa 1? Okay, a fraction is in simplest form or in lowest term if the GCF of the numerator and the denominator is 1, or if the numerator and the denominator are relatively prime. So 8 and 12 here, they are not relatively prime because aside from 1, they have another fraction that could divide them, or another number that could divide them. So therefore, all we have to do is to look for that biggest factor or greatest common factor that could divide the numerator and the denominator in order to express our answer in the simplest form or lowest term. Of course, 8 and 12 can be divided by 4. So, 8 divided by 4, the answer is 2, while 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. So, is there another number that could divide both 2 and 3? No more, because 2 and 3 are relatively prime, or their GCF is 1. Therefore, this is already in the simplest form. Same with number 1, this is already in the simplest form, so that's already our final answer. However, if our answer is not yet in simplest form, if possible, write them in the simplest form. Next one is 3/4 plus 1/2. So the first question is, do they have common denominator? Oh, we do have a big problem here because our denominators here are not the same. So they are not common. Because they are not common, so that's the time that we will add another step. And that step is to look for their LCD. Okay, we will just add another step, which is look for their LCD, but it's not necessary that always we have to look for the LCD. That's why I just condense the steps into two, such as step number 1 is to copy the common denominator. So if there's no need for you to look for the LCD, so you just skip it. Okay, so copy the common denominator. In this case, they're not common, so we have to look for LCD, or the least common denominator, the smallest number where the two numbers will meet. Sa diin ba nga number matabo sila nga duha, kung mag-skip count ka by 4 kag mag-skip count ka by 2, amo na sa ambot silingon sang least common denominator, ang pinakagamay nga numero nga tabuan ni 4 kag ni 2. So what is the LCD? LCD na sa class because natun-an naton LCM. LCM is the least common multiple. Kung sa diin ang duwa ka number pinakauna magtabo. But in this case, because we use the numbers as denominator, so we change the name LCM to LCD. So here we have to look for the LCD of 4 and 2. Sa diin matabo si 4 kag si 2. What is the smallest number where these 2, 4 and 2 will meet? And of course, if you skip count by 4 and skip count by 2, they will meet with number 4. So you just copy 4. Now, because you already found this number which is common to both of them, a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 2, ang next natin yung problem is paano pangitaon ang ilang numerator? Do we still use 3 and 1 here as our numerator? Of course not, because we change our denominators. So technically, our numerators will also change. We will look for the equivalent fraction, which is equal to 3/4, whose denominator is 4, and equal to 1/2, whose denominator is 4. In this case, 3/4, the same denominator, 4 and 4, so you just copy 3 as numerator. However, in this case, ang 2 naton diri, gin-change naton sa 4. So all we have to do is to look for the new numerator of this fraction. So all we have to do is just divide 4 by 2. So the answer is 2 times 1. Then the answer is 2. Again, I will repeat. 4 divided by 2. Then the answer, you have to multiply it by the numerator. So 2 times 1. So the answer is 2. So our 1/2 now is 2/4. These two fractions are equivalent fractions. These two fractions are equal fractions. So this time we already have a common denominator. So copy the common denominator. We will go back to step number 1, which is equal to 4. After that one, then add the numerators, which is equal to 5. Now, if you notice, our fraction here is improper because the numerator is greater than the denominator. So always remember that after you add the numerators and your fraction is improper, so it would be best to change your answer, which is improper, to mixed form. Best, but I'm not telling you that this is wrong. This is already correct because this answer is already in the simplest form. simplest form. Or other term for that is lowest term. However, I just want to add after this step that your answer, which is improper, should be changed to is advised, should be changed, or is advised, should be expressed to mixed form. So in this case, 5/4, the question is, how many 4 can you get from 5? That's correct, 1. And if you will get 1 4 there, how many will be left? Or how much will be left? So that's 1. Of course, if you will take away 4 from here, 1 will be left. So just copy the denominator. That's how to change your improper fraction to mixed number. Remember that the fraction means division. So just divide 5 by 4. So para i-change natin si 5/4 sa aton nga mixed number, ang obrahon natin, ang 5 i-divide mo na sa 4. Di pila ka 4 ang makuha nimo sa 5. Di ba isa? Then, pila ang sobra kung kuhaan mo na din sa isa ka 4. May sobra pa sa nga isa. That's your remainder. Then copy the denominator. So your final answer is 1 1/4. Next one is 5/6 plus 7/8. Of course, these fractions are having different denominators. So because they are having different denominators, or they are what we call dissimilar fractions, so we could not copy their denominator because their denominators are not common. Okay, so this time, let us look for, wait, allow me to erase some of the answers here. Okay, so that I could give space on how to solve this problem. Of course, 5/6 plus 7/8, because their denominators are not the same, lain-lain sila denominators, so dissimilar fractions sila. All you have to do is to look for their LCD. What is the smallest number where these two will meet? Anong pinakgamay nga number nga kung mag-skip count ka by 6 kag mag-skip count ka by 8, matabo sila nga duwa. Una-una nga number nga tabuan nila. That's very good. That's 24. So, use 24 as your new denominator this time. Then after that one, we already have the denominator, which is 24. Kag common na sila. The next step is look for their numerator. And in order for us to look for that numerator, so 24 divided by 6, the answer is 6, 12, 18, 24, that's 4, times 5, so 20 here. These two fractions are equivalent fractions. So 24 divided by 8, so that's 3, times 7, that's 21. So of course, these two fractions, 7/8 and 21/24, are also equivalent fractions. Now, because we do have already the same denominators or common denominators, so you copy them. Alright, how did we get, or how did we change these two denominators into 24 or common denominator? Of course, by the use of LCD, we look for the least common denominator. Okay? The next step that we have to do is you have to add their numerators. So 20 plus 21, that's 41. Okay. Question. What kind of fraction is this? This is improper fraction. So improper should be expressed to mixed form, just to make it clear. Okay? So 41 divided by 24. How many 24 we can get from 41? I think it's just 1. Then 24 from here. If you will subtract, this will become 11. So this will become 7. This will become 3. So 1. So the answer is 1 and 17 over 24. Okay? So is that fraction already in the simplest form or lowest term? Of course, because 17 and 24 are relatively prime numbers. Now, how many points did you get? Good job. Alright, we are already done with addition of simple fraction. This time, let's try to do the subtraction. So subtract the following fractions. Of course, I would like to remind you all that we still use, or we will still use the same steps. Step number one, copy the common denominator. So if they're common denominators, or if they don't have the same denominators, then look for their LCD or least common denominator. Next step is to subtract the numerators. After you subtracted it, or after you subtracted the fractions, the next step that you have to do is express your answer in the simplest form. However, if your answer is in improper fraction, express that improper to mixed number. I will give you time to do this activity, answers 1 up to 3. Pause this video and do it in your scratch paper. Now let us look at the solutions and the answers of the following items. Let us now subtract 5, 6, and 2, 6. First step, copy the common denominator. I think they both have the same denominator, so they are common with 6. Then after that one, you subtract the numerators. So 5 minus 2, the answer is 3. Next question, is the answer in the simplest form or in lowest term? Of course, 3 and 6, they still have a common factor. May number pa nga pwede ma-divide sa ilang dua aside from 1. So they are not relatively prime. So there's still a number that could divide both the numerators and the denominator, and that is 3. So you divide both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So your final answer is 1/2. Next one, 3/5 minus 3/8. Copy the common denominator. But in this case, they don't have the same denominators. So all we have to do is look for their LCD or least common denominator. The smallest number where these two will meet. Of course, 5 and 8 will meet at 40. So 40 divided by 5 is 8 times 3, that's 24. Same thing, 40 divided by 8, that is 5 times 3, that is equal to 15. Now this time they already have common denominator, just copy 40. Now 24 minus 15, because you subtract the numerators. So 24 minus 15, I think that's 9. Question, is this already in the simplest form? Of course, 9 and 40 are relatively prime, or they don't have a common factor anymore. So that's already the final answer, 9/50 or 9/40. Now let's proceed to the last item. Copy the common denominator. They don't have common denominators, so we will look for their LCD, and the LCD of 10 and 5 is 10. They will meet at 10. So because they have the same denominator, so you just copy the numerator. This case, 5 becomes 10, so 10 divided by 5, that is 2, times 4, that is equal to 8. Now if you will subtract, copy the common denominator, which is 10. Now 9 minus 8 is equal to 1. So this is already in the simplest form. The fact that the numerator is 1 and all unit fractions is already in the simplest form. Therefore, that's the final answer, 1/10. We will add or subtract the following numbers with whole numbers and mixed numbers this time. So this is another challenge that you really have to consider. So try to answer items number 1 up to number 4. I will reveal the answers later and the solutions to the following challenge. So give yourself a time to do this. Pause this video and answer your next activity. Let us now answer the following activities, but of course I would like to remind you all that we are still following the same step number 1 and step number 2 in adding or subtracting fractions. This time this is a bit challenging because we do have here whole numbers together with the fractions, but don't you worry, the same thing that we have to do. If we are dealing with fractions, of course, remember the first step that you always have to copy the common denominators. However, if the denominators are not the same, then you look for their LCM. The second step that you have to do is to add the numerators. Then after that one, if you added them, of course, you have to express your whole fraction, or your fraction, I mean, in the simplest form. In this case, our fractions here are 3/8 and 1/4. Just set aside the whole numbers. Tutok lang anay sa fraction. All you have to do is focus your attention to the fractions. Of course, the fractions here don't have the same denominator, so we have to look for their LCD. The smallest number where these two will meet is 8. So all we have to do is use 8 as our new denominator. Because the denominator here is the same, or they are the same, so you just copy the numerator. So that's still 8. Here, 4 becomes 8. So 8 divided by 4, the answer is 2 times 1, so that's 2. Then of course, you will just copy the whole numbers. Because they already have the same denominators, so all we have to do is copy the common denominator, which is 8, and add the numerator, which is 5. So that's it. Then after that one, you also add the whole numbers. So 9 plus 2, or 9, sorry, 7 plus 2 is equal to 9. So our fraction is already in the simplest form. So this is our final answer. Okay, that's how we add fractions or mixed numbers. So this time, in this case, this is a whole number and this is a fraction. When we say 12 minus 7/9, it simply means that you have here 12 one whole. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In this case, of course, you will just only subtract 7/9. And 7/9 is just only one part of a whole. For example, if this one whole is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sorry, I will change it again. Sorry, I did not divide it. I did not divide the whole into approximately 9 equal parts. So that's 3, 6, and 9 equal parts. So all you have to do is just take away, because that is subtract, ibuhin mo lang, kuhaon mo lang ang 7/9. Ang 7/9, gamay pa na sa gani sa 1. It's less than 1. So only 1 is affected. So all you have to do is just to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts out of 9. So mabilin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, one whole. And there is 2 9s. So it simply means that our 12 here is big enough to be subtracted by 7/9. So we will just borrow 1 and 11 will be left there as whole number. So this one should be changed or expressed to 9/9. Remember that a while ago, I told you that a fraction is equal to 1 if the numerator and denominator are the same. So here, the numerator and denominator are the same, 9/9. And why did I choose 9? Nga mas ginpili ko ang 9. It's because ang iya denominator diri 9. So para pareho sila denominator, kopyahon ko na lang. Then I will just subtract the numerator, 9 minus 7, that is equal to 2. So be wise in making your one whole into fraction. Dapat pareho sa denominator dira. So kay 9 iya denominator, so you use also 9 here as your denominator. But of course, para mag-equal sa 1, ang iyang numerator kung iyang denominator dapat pareho. So kung 9 mo denominator, you also use 9 as your numerator. That makes it 1. Dira naghalin na siya ang 9/9 sa may 1. Ang 1 nga ina ginhulam naton sa may 12. We split 12 into 11 and 1 because we don't have a fraction where we could subtract 7/9. Therefore, the correct answer is 11 and 2/9. Gets? Okay, now let's proceed here. Of course, in this case, we do have different denominators. So you just copy, or you just look for their LCD. The LCD of 3 and 5 is 15. So, ang 3 and 15, so 15 divided by 3 is 5 times 2, that is equal to 10. In this case, 15 divided by 5, that is equal to 3 times 3, that is equal to 9. then copy the whole number, copy the whole number. Then after that one, you subtract their fractions. Of course, copy the common denominator, which is 15, and of course 10 minus 9, that is equal to 1. Then of course subtract also the fraction 15 minus 8, that is equal to 7. So that is already our final answer, because this is a unit fraction, and of course that's already in the lowest term. Okay, so in this case, of course, let me erase this one so that we have enough space to solve item number 4. In item number 4, in this case, they don't have the same denominator, so we have to look for their LCD, which is equal to 14, and 14 here. Now 14 divided by 2 is 7, times 1, that is still 7. 14 divided by 7 is 2, times 4 here, that is equal to 8. Copy the whole number. If you notice here, we could already copy the denominator, but the numerator here is 7 and here is 8. Tandaan ninyo nga hindi ito pwede mabuhinan ang 7 sang 8 because 7 is less than 8. So mas gamay siya sa 8. So hindi kita kabuhin sa 8 dira because this is enough to be subtracted by 8. The next thing that we have to do is to borrow. We will borrow 1 from 6. Wait. We will borrow 1 from 6. Okay? Para sige ubra nato diri kay ina, nag-borrow man kita, and of course what will be left with 6 is 5. Okay? After we already borrowed 1 from 6, we will add that to 7/14, so that if it will become bigger this time, we could subtract 2 from 5, and of course 8/14 from 1 and 7/14. So in this case, our 1 here could be also expressed as 14/14. You might be wondering once again, ka 14 ang ginpili na akong number? Of course, because the fraction here is also 14. So that it would be easy for me to add them. Okay? And I will add 5 here. That's the 5, this is the 1, and this is the 7/14. So I could subtract later 2 from 5, and of course 8/14 here. Okay? So in this case, I could add them. So I will transfer here. So 14. Then 14 plus 7, that is equal to 21. That's big enough to be subtracted by 8/14. Just copy the whole number 5 and the whole number 2 here. In that case, the next thing that we have to do is copy the common denominator, which is 14, and subtract 21 and 8. So this is now big enough to be subtracted by 8. Okay? So the answer is... Oh my, it's not working, sorry. Okay, that's 13. So 21 minus 8, that's equal to 13. Okay? So 5 minus 2, the answer is 3. So because they are already in the simplest form, therefore, that's our final answer. Did you get 4? What's your score? Alright, we are already done with addition and subtraction of simple fractions and also addition and subtraction of mixed numbers or mixed fractions. I could not go any further as much as I wanted to because I'm so tired after my online class with my grade 6 pupils, grade 5 pupils, and grade 4 pupils this morning and since yesterday until this morning. So for now, I will just stop from here, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of your learning journey. I hope that this pandemic will never stop us to learn more and be excited to make ourselves a better version of yesterday. So thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I hope that this channel is really a great help for you. Thank you, pupils, and always stay safe. I am your Sir Collin, and see you to our next video lesson. Thank you so much for staying with me. So, biskan pa ang humisang sirom-sirom, hindi makapatulog sa atin because nahihaluan natin na ang kabataan ang mga pag-asa sa bayan.